a mission is organized by like a mission president and his wife, and then he calls zone leaders and sister training leaders to kind of help lead the zones and to take the things that he says and like filter it down to the rest of the missionaries. And then within that, there's district leaders. But ultimately, like what I learned from having like that structure in the mission is, because it's very similar to like the structure of the church. You know, we have prophets and apostles and 70, and you know, it just breaks it down. But that ultimately, like, these people are called of God, and that they're inspired, and that when we listen to their counsel, that we're blessed because we're being obedient, and that, you know, these missionaries and this man and wife who are called as mission president and his wife, that they're, you know, they're people, and that they're not perfect by any means, but that they're doing their best, and that they really are inspired. And I think that was one of the coolest things, was being able to, you know, listen to my district leaders and my zone leaders, and especially to my mission president, and to follow their counsel, and then to see the miracles that would follow. A lot of times we would be asked to do things where I'd be like, you know, kind of a little bit unsure, but just being obedient, I immediately saw those blessings. For example, my mission president, he did this thing where we only read from the Book of Mormon for 100 days. So we weren't allowed to read from the Bible. And by I say we weren't allowed, it wasn't like, you cannot read. But he just asked us to focus our studies on the Bible, or excuse me, the Book of Mormon, and preach my gospel. And at this point, I was in Malachi in the Bible. So I was a little bit disappointed because I was getting pretty close to, you know, finishing the Old Testament. But I remember, you know, just listening to his counsel and being like, okay, I'll put that on hold and I'll start over in the Book of Mormon, even though I was almost done with that, and I'll read it as a mission. And I think I learned more from reading the Book of Mormon that time than I had any other time in my whole entire life. And not only that, but I learned how to use it as a missionary. So I learned how to pull it out on the streets and be able to testify immediately with scriptures from the Book of Mormon, where, you know, before I had a little bit of trouble remembering references and, you know, where doctrines were, and now I felt like a scriptorian, just being able to pull out ideas and concepts that would relate specifically to people. And I know that that was a blessing from being obedient to counsel that was given to my mission president from the Lord. And so, you know, sometimes we look at our leaders and it's really easy to pick out their flaws because we think that they are supposed to be perfect. But in reality, they're inspired, and that we can have a testimony of the calling that they hold, and that we can admire who they are, and learn from them. That they're there for a reason, that they're there called, whether to help us or maybe they're there so that they can learn something from their calling. But I think to be more forgiving of them, and not to be as harsh and critical, but just to take the things that they say and to be obedient to their counsel, and then to look for those blessings, because they'll come.